In a small town nestled between rolling hills and lush green fields, the local butcher shop stood as a proud emblem of tradition. For generations, the townsfolk had relied on the butcher, Mr. Thompson, who was known for his skill in selecting the finest cuts of meat and his ability to prepare them with care. The shop was a gathering place where conversations flowed as freely as the fresh blood from the day's slaughter. It was here that the community's relationship with meat and eggs was forged, a bond steeped in culture, family recipes, and a sense of pride in their culinary heritage. As the sun rose over the town, casting a warm golden hue on the landscape, the aroma of sizzling bacon wafted through the air, drawing people to their kitchens for breakfast. For many families, a hearty meal comprised of eggs and meat was a staple, a comforting way to start the day. The sound of sizzling in the pan, the crack of an egg, and the savory richness of sausage were all part of a morning ritual that connected them to their roots. Yet beneath this comforting routine lay a growing concern that began to seep into conversations, like the grease from a frying pan. As the town's population grew, so did its appetite for meat and eggs. The local diner, a favorite spot for lunch, boasted a menu filled with meat-heavy dishes, hamburgers, fried chicken, and steak sandwiches. The owner, Mrs. Jenkins, prided herself on using local produce, but the sheer volume of meat served was staggering. Diners reveled in the indulgence, often ordering seconds or even thirds, their plates piled high with protein. "You can't have too much of a good thing," Mrs. Jenkins would say, laughing as she refilled glasses of sweet tea. Yet, unbeknownst to them, this indulgence was beginning to take a toll. As the seasons changed, so did the health of the townsfolk. A local doctor, Dr. Patel, observed an alarming trend in his practice. Patients who had once been healthy and active began to show signs of high cholesterol, hypertension, and obesity. He noticed that many of them shared a common dietary habit: excessive consumption of meat and eggs. It was not just the quantities that concerned him, but also the quality. Factory-farmed meat, laden with hormones and antibiotics, had become the norm, and the nutritional value of eggs had diminished as farming practices shifted to meet demand. Dr. Patel decided it was time to address the issue head-on. He organized a community health seminar, inviting residents to discuss the implications of their dietary choices. As the evening approached, the town hall buzzed with anticipation. Families arrived, some bringing their children, while others came alone, curious about what the doctor had to say. Dr. Patel began his talk with a simple question: "How many of you had meat or eggs for breakfast this morning?" A sea of hands shot up, laughter erupting as people exchanged knowing glances. He smiled, acknowledging the cultural significance of their meals, before delving into the facts. He spoke of the links between high meat consumption and chronic diseases, emphasizing the importance of balance and moderation. "It's not about cutting meat out entirely," he explained. "It's about finding a healthier relationship with it." The discussion soon turned to environmental concerns. A local environmentalist, Maya, took the stage to share her insights. With fervor, she explained how the meat industry contributed to deforestation, greenhouse gas emissions, and water pollution. For every pound of beef produced, it takes over 1,800 gallons of water, she stated, her voice rising above the murmurs in the crowd. And the land used for grazing cattle could be better utilized for growing crops that feed people directly. Maya's words resonated with many, particularly the younger generation who had begun to question the sustainability of their dietary choices. They listened intently, some nodding in agreement as she highlighted the impact of factory farming on animal welfare and the ethical implications of their consumption habits. The room grew quiet as she painted a picture of the vast lands stripped bare for cattle ranching, the rivers choked with runoff from feedlots, and the animals raised in cramped, inhumane conditions. As the evening progressed, the conversation shifted to cultural perspectives. An elder from the community, Mrs. Martinez, shared her family's history with food. "In my country," she began, "meat was a luxury reserved for special occasions. We celebrated with it, but we also knew the value of vegetables and grains." Her words struck a chord with many, reminding them of the diverse culinary traditions that had shaped their lives. She spoke of the importance of balance, of incorporating more plant-based meals into their diets, and how it had been a part of her family's heritage long before it became a trend. The discussion sparked a lively debate among the attendees. Some defended their love for meat, citing its role in their family recipes and traditions. "My grandmother's fried chicken is a rite of passage," one man exclaimed. "It's not just food, it's love." Others argued that the health and environmental concerns were too significant to ignore. They shared stories of friends who had adopted plant-based diets and experienced remarkable health improvements, their energy levels soaring and their weight dropping. As the seminar concluded, the townsfolk left with a newfound awareness, a mix of pride in their culinary heritage and concern for their health and the planet. Dr. Patel encouraged them to explore alternatives, to experiment with new recipes that included more vegetables, legumes, and whole grains. Maya offered to host workshops on sustainable cooking, aiming to inspire a shift in their culinary culture. In the weeks that followed, the town began to transform. The local farmers' market flourished as residents sought out fresh produce, and the butcher shop saw a decline in meat sales. Mr. Thompson, ever the entrepreneur, adapted by offering grass-fed options and collaborating with local farmers to provide organic eggs. The diner, too, revamped its menu, introducing vegetarian and vegan options that surprised and delighted patrons. Families began to gather around their dinner tables, sharing dishes that celebrated both tradition and innovation. They experimented with lentil stews, quinoa salads, and vegetable stir-fries, discovering flavors and textures they had never considered before. Children eagerly participated in the cooking process, learning about the origins of their food and the importance of sustainability. As time passed, the community's health began to improve. Dr. Patel noted a decrease in chronic illness among his patients, and the energy in the town was palpable. People felt lighter, both physically and mentally, and the conversations around the dinner table shifted from indulgence to mindfulness. The butcher shop and the diner became places of learning, where customers exchanged recipes and tips for healthier living, fostering a sense of camaraderie that transcended their dietary choices. Yet, not everyone was on board with the changes. A faction of the community clung to their traditional values, viewing the shift as an affront to their way of life. They argued that their ancestors had thrived on meat and eggs and questioned the validity of the health and environmental claims being made. They organized a meeting, inviting speakers who advocated for meat consumption, emphasizing its nutritional benefits and the cultural significance of their culinary practices. At this meeting, tensions ran high as differing viewpoints clashed. The air was thick with passion, with some defending their right to enjoy meat while others pleaded for a more balanced approach. It became clear that this was more than just a dietary debate. It was a reflection of identity, tradition, and the complexities of modern living. In the midst of the heated discussions, a young woman named Sarah stood up. She was a recent college graduate, passionate about nutrition and sustainability. "I understand the love for tradition," she began, her voice steady. "But we live in a different world now. We have the knowledge and the tools to make better choices. It doesn't mean we have to abandon our heritage. It means we can evolve it." Her words resonated with some, opening the door for dialogue rather than division. Slowly, people began to share their experiences, discussing how they could honor their traditions while also embracing change. They spoke of family gatherings that included both meat and plant-based dishes, creating a rich tapestry of flavors that celebrated their heritage while being mindful of health and environmental impacts. As the seasons turned once more, the town had transformed into a vibrant community that embraced balance. The butcher shop thrived, offering a range of products that catered to both traditional and modern palates. The diner became a hub of creativity, with weekly specials that celebrated local produce alongside classic meat dishes. The health seminar had sparked a movement, one that encouraged the townsfolk to rethink their relationship with food. They discovered that it was possible to honor their past while creating a sustainable future. The conversations that once revolved solely around meat and eggs evolved into discussions about nutrition, health, and the environment, fostering a sense of unity and purpose. In the end, the story of the small town became a testament to the power of community, the importance of dialogue, and the ability to adapt in the face of change. It was a narrative woven with threads of culture, health, and environmental awareness, illustrating that their choices at their dinner tables could resonate far beyond their plates. The journey was not just about what they consumed, but how they consumed it, mindfully, with respect for their heritage and the world around them. And as they gathered to share meals, they did so with a renewed sense of gratitude, embracing the richness of their culinary traditions while forging a healthier, more sustainable future.